Somewhere right now, a company you have never heard of knows what you searched for at 2 in the morning, what you almost bought and didn't, and how long you paused on a photo of your ex. They don't know your name. They don't need to. They already know enough to predict what you'll do next. This is not science fiction. This is Tuesday. And it raises a strange question that most people never stop to ask. If data is just information, just numbers sitting on a server somewhere, why do economists, tech billionaires, and government regulators keep calling it the new oil? Oil built empires. Oil started wars. Oil made deserts into kingdoms overnight. Can a spreadsheet really do that? Stick around, because the answer is stranger and more unsettling than most people realize. Let's rewind for a second. In 1859, a retired railroad conductor named Edwin Drake drilled the first commercial oil well in Titusville, Pennsylvania. Nobody around him understood what they were sitting on. Within 50 years, oil didn't just power lamps and engines. It powered entire nations. It decided who won wars, who controlled trade routes, and who got to call themselves a superpower. Oil became the resource every government would fight to secure, because everything else depended on it. Fast forward to today, and something eerily similar is happening again. Except this time, the resource isn't buried underground. It's generated every time you tap a screen. Every scroll, every purchase, every pause on a video for half a second longer than the last one, all of it becomes a data point. Multiply that by 5 billion internet users, all doing this every single day. And you get an ocean of information so vast that no human being could ever read even a fraction of it. But here's the twist. Nobody wants to read it. They want to refine it. And that word, refine, is exactly why this comparison to oil isn't just a clever metaphor. It's disturbingly accurate. Crude oil, straight out of the ground, is almost useless. It's thick, sludgy, and full of impurities. You can't put it straight into a car. It has to be extracted, transported, refined, and processed before it becomes something valuable, like gasoline, plastic, or jet fuel. Raw data works exactly the same way. A billion lines of clicks and locations and timestamps sitting untouched is basically worthless. But once it's collected, cleaned, organized, and fed into algorithms, it transforms into something incredibly powerful, something that can predict, persuade, and profit. That transformation from raw material to refined power is the entire engine behind some of the richest companies on Earth. Think about it this way. Google doesn't sell you a search engine. Search is free. Facebook doesn't charge you a membership fee. Neither does Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. So how exactly are these among the most valuable companies in human history? The answer is simple and a little uncomfortable. You are not the customer. You are the product being refined. Every free app you use is quietly gathering crude data about your habits and selling access to that refined understanding of you to advertisers who pay enormous sums to place their products directly in front of the exact people most likely to buy them. In 2024, global digital advertising revenue crossed roughly $740 billion. That number keeps climbing every single year, and almost all of it depends on one thing: knowing who you are well enough to guess what you'll want next. That's the oil well. Your attention and your behavior are the crude reserves. And Silicon Valley has built the world's most efficient refineries to process it. But let's slow down, because there's a deeper layer to this story that most people miss entirely. Oil, no matter how valuable, is still just oil. A barrel from Texas behaves the same as a barrel from Saudi Arabia. It has a fixed chemical value. Data doesn't work that way. Data gets more valuable the more of it you have and the more it connects to other data. One person's location history means very little on its own. But when you combine location, spending habits, search history, sleep patterns from a fitness tracker, and social media activity, you don't just get information anymore. You get a psychological profile more detailed than most people have of themselves. This is called the network effect, and it's one of the strangest economic forces in the modern world. Unlike oil, which runs out the more you use it, data actually grows more powerful the more it's used, shared, and cross-referenced. That's why companies aren't just collecting data anymore. They're hoarding it, protecting it, and quietly buying up any smaller company that has a unique slice of it. This explains a mystery that confused a lot of people for years. Why would a massive tech company pay billions of dollars for an app that doesn't even turn a profit? In 2012, Facebook paid $1 billion for Instagram, a company with 13 employees and no real revenue at the time. People thought it was insane. It wasn't insane. It was an oil acquisition. Facebook wasn't buying photo filters. It was buying access to millions of new users, and the endless stream of behavioral data those users would generate for decades to come. That single decision alone is now worth well over $100 billion in value. Not bad for 13 employees and some square photos. This pattern repeats constantly across the tech industry. And once you notice it, you can't stop seeing it. Every acquisition, every free app, every smart device you plug into your home is really just another drilling rig, quietly extracting a resource you didn't even know you were producing. Your smart speaker isn't just playing music. It's listening for patterns in your voice, your routines, your questions at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. Your fitness watch isn't just counting steps. It's building a timeline of your heart rate, your stress levels, and your sleeping habits, all of which can be sold, aggregated, or used to train the next generation of algorithms. None of this is necessarily evil. Much of it genuinely improves our lives, our health, our convenience, our access to information. But it's important to understand the trade that's happening in the background. Now here's where the metaphor gets even more interesting, because oil didn't just create wealth, it created geopolitics. Nations went to war over oil. Entire alliances were built or broken depending on who controlled the pipelines. The Middle East transformed from a collection of desert territories into one of the most strategically important regions on the planet, purely because of what was underneath the sand. Data is starting to create its own version of geopolitics, and most people have no idea it's already happening. Countries are now passing laws specifically about where data can be stored, who can access it, and whether it can cross international borders at all. The European Union created the General Data Protection Regulation, a sweeping law designed to give citizens more control over their own information, largely because European leaders realized American tech companies had quietly become some of the biggest data superpowers on Earth. China has taken an even more aggressive approach, requiring that data generated within its borders stay physically stored on servers inside the country, treating information almost like a natural resource that isn't allowed to leave national territory. The United States has gone back and forth for years on whether to ban apps like TikTok, and the actual concern voiced by lawmakers usually isn't really about dance videos. It's about who gets to hold the data of 170 million American users. When you strip away the political language, these are resource conflicts. They just don't look like the oil conflicts of the 20th century, because there are no pipelines, no tankers, no visible infrastructure. The new pipelines are undersea fiber optic cables, carrying unimaginable amounts of information between continents every single second, mostly invisible, mostly unnoticed, and absolutely critical to the modern economy. If you wanted to cripple a modern superpower without firing a single missile, you wouldn't need to bomb an oil field anymore. You'd need to cut the right cable or hack the right server farm. That should be a genuinely unsettling thought, and it's one more reason economists reach for the oil comparison. Because just like oil, data has become a matter of national security. But here's where the metaphor eventually breaks down, and understanding where it breaks is just as important as understanding where it fits. Oil is finite. Every barrel pumped out of the ground is one less barrel that will ever exist. Scarcity is the entire reason oil became so valuable in the first place. Data doesn't run out. Every single day, humanity generates more of it than existed in all of history combined just a few years earlier. Some estimates suggest the world creates well over 400 million terabytes of data every single day. That number is so large, it barely means anything to a human brain. So try this instead. If you tried to store all the data generated on Earth in just one single day using stacks of standard DVDs, the pile would stretch far higher than the International Space Station orbits above us. And that's just one day. Tomorrow, we'll do it again. This creates a strange paradox that oil never had to deal with. If data is infinite, why is it still so valuable? The answer lies not in scarcity, but in something else entirely: the ability to understand it. Raw, unrefined data, sitting in messy, disorganized piles, is nearly worthless, no matter how much of it exists. The real value lies in having the tools, the algorithms, and the computing power to actually make sense of the chaos. This is why the true kings of the data economy aren't just the companies that collect the most information. They're the companies that can process it fastest and smartest. This explains the sudden explosion of artificial intelligence over the last few years. AI systems are, at their core, refineries built specifically to extract patterns and value out of oceans of raw data that would otherwise sit useless. The massive language models and image generators making headlines today didn't appear out of nowhere. They were trained by consuming almost unimaginable quantities of text, images, and behavioral data, most of it scraped from the same internet you and I use every day. In a very real sense, every article you've ever read online, every photo you've ever posted, every comment you've ever left, may have quietly become fuel for a machine that didn't exist when you first created it. That's a genuinely strange thought to sit with. Your past digital life has become raw material for a future you never agreed to. So where does that leave us? Is data really the new oil, or is that comparison just a catchy phrase that tech journalists love to repeat? The honest answer is both. The metaphor holds up beautifully in some ways. Data, like oil, needs to be extracted and refined before it becomes valuable. Data, like oil, has sparked new forms of global competition between nations. Data, like oil, has created some of the wealthiest companies in human history almost overnight. But data breaks the metaphor in ways that might matter even more. It doesn't run out. It grows more powerful the more it connects. And unlike oil, which sits quietly underground until someone drills for it, Data is being generated right now by you without you even realizing it every single time you unlock your phone. Maybe the most accurate way to describe data isn't that it's the new oil at all. Maybe it's something we've never really had a comparison for before, a resource made entirely of human behavior, harvested at a scale too vast to imagine, refined by machines we barely understand, and traded in a marketplace most of us didn't even know we were part of. The next time you scroll through a feed that somehow shows you exactly what you were thinking about buying, remember what's really happening behind that screen. You're not just using the internet, you're fueling it. And somewhere, in a server farm you'll never see, your own digital shadow is being refined into something worth more than you might ever imagine. If this made you look at your phone a little differently, you're exactly the kind of person this channel was made for. Subscribe to The Economics of Weird Things, because the strangest parts of the modern economy are usually hiding in the places we never think to look.